Radio Hour. I'm Ethan. We're about to get started. We're going to let our live Zoom audience into the room as well. Hey everyone, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks for joining today. Good to see you all. What's up, Larry? Hey, how's it going, Steven? Yeah, as usually, we're letting people get settled. If you're out there checking things out for the first time on Facebook or YouTube, we'll give you the context soon, and you can enjoy the program. But yeah, for a minute, we just let people get settled into place, and then I do the intro. Check all the channels. Make sure we're out there. Yes, I see you out there on Facebook, YouTube. Wonderful. Okay, let's get started. What is this? This is Piano Tech Radio Hour, and what we do here is we meet every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano and music world. This might include manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our crafts, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online learning resource that brings you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You can find out more about that at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can also subscribe to Radio Hour. It's just $16 a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as all the archival recordings of over 200 episodes in our member area. You can join using the link bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. I'll let you know about the podcast, the audio-only version of the program, which can be found at pianotechradio.com. We've reached top 100, top 10, number 1 status even in various locales in the performing arts category on iTunes. We also have a Substack where we have some written content, which give you a sneak peek into the member-only content we have for piano technicians and master classes. We also have our socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and you can sign up for the email list at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com with just your name and email. You'll stay up to date on everything that we are up to. Now, today I would like to introduce our guest. His name is Irwin, described by the New Yorker as a lyrical alto saxophonist and a compelling original composer. He has released 9 recordings as a leader and performed with artists and ensembles, including Darcy James Argue's Secret Society, Jamie Baum Septet, The Roots, Rufus Wainwright, Kristen Chenoweth, Josh Groban, and Idina Menzel. With more than 20 years of teaching experience, Aaron also brings a strong educational perspective to his work. He currently teaches at Packer Collegiate Institute in Brooklyn, New York, and previously served as adjunct saxophone professor at Towson University. Aaron, welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour.
Thanks for having me, Ethan.
It's a pleasure. So, as our viewers and listeners probably know, I like to launch into the conversation typically with a walk down memory lane, and I want to hear a little bit about your first experiences with the magical world of music and how it became apparent to you this was going to be such a big part of your life.
Well, I should start by saying that both my maternal grandparents were musicians. My grandmother played accordion and taught accordion, and my grandfather was a trumpet player and music teacher. And so when I was very young, I took piano lessons from friends of the family, and one thing led to another. I picked up the saxophone in the 4th grade, and I grew up in a small town in central Illinois, but it had a very vibrant public school band program, and the high school jazz program was really great. And I was fortunate to have private lessons, and I had a private saxophone teacher since the 4th grade. And you know how it is when you're a little good at something, it propels you on to the next thing, and one thing led to another, and I majored in music, and it was just the thing that was of the most interest to me.
Great. You and I talked a little bit before we let the listeners and viewers join about your sort of educational trajectory. We know you came from DeKalb, Illinois, and ended up studying a bit in Chicago for your undergraduate in DePaul, and then eventually moved on to study a bit in graduate degree in Miami. And ultimately, you're here in New York now, in Brooklyn. As our listeners know, I do love to talk to people about what it's like to be in New York. But yeah, tell us. I mean, my intuition says you came to New York because that's where you're supposed to go for to be a jazz musician. But you tell me, what prompted that trajectory, especially coming from Miami out to New York City?
Hmm. Well, let's see. I think the experience of living in Chicago had a profound effect on me. Like, what a great city, and I could certainly see myself living there. But I did want to go to Miami. I was encouraged to go to grad school there by my saxophone teacher, Mark Colby. Um, and so once I was there, yeah, like most artists or most musicians, um, and also just knowing the history of jazz music, um, learning about Charlie Parker and Miles Davis and Duke Ellington. I wanted to go see where kind of bebop came from, and also test my own musical strengths. Um, it's a much it's a much bigger pond in New York, so yeah, I wanted to experience that. So that's what after living in Miami, I decided to move to New York.
Yeah. Um, and how long ago was the move again for the listeners to New York? How
Um,
long have you been there?
well, I moved here in 2002, so
Okay,
yeah, whatever math that, yeah,
that's a
long
good
time ago.
portion of your life. Yeah,
Yeah,
24 years or something like that.
yeah.
Um, so you feel like a New Yorker? Call yourself a New Yorker?
It's
It
funny.
usually happens by then.
Yeah, I have this feeling of yes, I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else, but I still carry Central Illinois with me. Um, I still have that residual perspective of life. I think as a Midwesterner, um, yeah, I know New York well, and but yeah, I think I'll always be from Illinois. I think.
All
Um,
right. So you're just a rural small town boy that visited a few big cities and is
that's
still
right.
soaking it
Yeah,
all in. All right, that makes
I think
sense.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that a little bit myself. I'm from Michigan originally, but I spent a lot of
Mm,
time in Chicago. But I would be curious to maybe, of course, you were in these different scenes at different parts in your musical trajectory, which maybe colors your experiences. But I'd be interested to hear you sort of compare and contrast these three, you know, in some ways similar, but in some ways very different scenes. From what I
mm,
know, Chicago, blues is a heavy influence. There's not as many venues, and there's some quintessential venues in Chicago to check out. Of course, you have like the South Side, AACM, vibe that's been around, kind of a free jazz scene that's going on. And then Miami, like so much different, so much Latin American influence, and just sort of like a little bit more, especially since you were there, maybe a little bit more of that sort of vibrant economics, I guess, of Miami, and then New York, where you're at now. Anything you can bring out about sort of compare and contrast your experiences at least?
well, I should say, like, when I was living in Chicago, I mean, this was 96 to 2000, and
Yeah,
I was 18 years old and I was a student. So,
yeah,
I can't really speak to I know of what the blues scene in Chicago, historically, but I never participated in it or in
yeah.
any meaningful way. I did get to play at some jazz clubs. I the Jazz Showcase and Andy's. Um,
Hmm.
I played at the jam session on the South Side called the New Apartment Lounge with the
Sure.
saxophonist Von Freeman.
Yeah.
Um, but these were a very long time ago, and I was, essentially a child. But Chicago it's a great city, and I have very fond memories of it. I love going back to visit it. A lot of my friends that I grew up with now are they're some of the top musicians in the city now, and it's yeah, it's great. I nothing but positive things to say about that city. Miami, I was just there 2 years,
Mm.
and my main reflection of living there is how great the school was and how great the teachers were. There's this strong connection with Jaco Pastorius and Pat Metheny, and kind of like this. Maybe it was the teachers teaching there, but they instilled this great love of kind of that 70s kind of jazz, that kind of with like Weather Report, you know,
Sure.
um, uh, that was integral to that school and that city. Um, and as far as this city, I just lived there 2 years. I was, as a musician and student, I taught a little bit at the New World School of the Arts. I was in a wedding band, and played freelance gigs here and there. Yeah, really interesting uh, city. Very Cuban. A lot of great Cuban food and Cuban culture there. Um, yeah, and then moving to New York is like um, getting your doctorate in life or something. It's such a you know uh, punch in the gut or something. Like you really have to evaluate and question a lot of things. Like there's so many scenes. Where do you fit in those scenes, and how do you want to spend your time? Um, where's your love going to drive your time? Because if you could get spread too thin, I think, yeah, there's just so much going on. So, yeah, that's been over 20 years ago. It's been a journey discovering all that. You discover who you are in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, and kind of the way you describe it, I think, is a bit reflective of, some of the artists I listed that you've played with, right? In terms of you mentioning, okay, what scene are you in, right? Everyone from the Roots to Josh Groban, or Kristen Chenoweth, Rufus Wainwright. Wow, those are like, those are all just sort of different genres in and of themselves. So I'm curious also, um, what's the pathway there? Is it, that you kind of got into playing with certain artists for a little bit and then you moved on to another scene? Are these kind of things all happening concurrently? Um, and these are some great gigs to get, so I'm sort of curious how it all evolved. Yeah.
Um, my kind of strategy was to develop craft as a commercial musician as high as I could, and to also have an eye on my own personal artistic expression as well. So what that means is I practice, you know, uh, my flute and clarinet and my saxophone, just trying to really hone those and get those as high as I could, so I could be hired for like um, playing in Broadway shows or playing
Sure.
commercial gigs with Josh Groban or
Hmm.
whatever the situation called for. Hopefully, I was the phone number that people called, and then so that was kind of the strategy for me. But also, I have a strong penchant of like wanting to say something myself, and I feel like I have something to say as an artist and composer myself. So that also is kind of working in tangent with the commercial work or the whatever the craft of playing.
Mm. Yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense.
that sounds great. I've been reflecting over the years and some recently on just, all of the creative people that we admire, throughout history, and sort of the um, untold, but maybe still told, but not brought to the forefront, just sort of normal lives that they led in order to support their own work, right?
Mm.
Most recently, it was, Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein went to school, I believe, in Switzerland, for some of his early studies, and he wasn't offered a position, you know, in those realms because he had some, basically the way that I read it when I read about it, it's like nobody really liked him or something,
Mm.
and he went to work in a patent office, and then all of a
Mm.
sudden he's the name that shifted the course of history in terms of physics, or Leonardo da Vinci, haggling with uh, an abbot, with the monks about the price or the timeline of some piece of art he's
Yeah,
supposed to deliver. They're always living there, they always try to make it.
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
Zoot Sims drove a cab, you know?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
but I think what's interesting about your approach is that what you're doing, it seems, primarily is within music. You're doing the music as the gig, kind of everywhere, and some of the teaching, which is very typical,
hmm,
which I think can be very enriching in terms of the influence that you get from being with in all these different genres, and,
yeah,
and touching upon them. I think, given what we're talking about, I feel like it'd be appropriate to share some of your music so we can hear that. Um, is there one you find more appropriate than the other in terms of what you had shared, in terms of
Um,
links?
tell me again what I
So
forgot which.
I've got your Bandcamp here, and then with the Mississippi Hurt, I
Oh,
think, as the
oh
primary
yeah,
track.
yeah. We
You want
can
to check
listen
that
to
out?
that one. Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, so I'll get my audio shared, and yeah, well, I'll screen share the Bandcamp just so people could take a look at the album cover and the vibe there. Let's see here. Share. All right, so we'll play the track right here, right?
Okay.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thanks.
So, well, tell me about the context, the album in itself, and sort of the timeline here, in terms of when the whole thing was put together, and what
hmm
else is there, maybe the intention behind the tracks.
hmm so this is a trio that I've had for uh, at least 5 6 years, with the guitarist Mike Baguetta,
Oh,
and
Mike was at Rutgers with me.
yeah, I wondered if I knew he went to Rutgers. I didn't know when
Oh,
he was
that's
there.
great. That's
Um,
great.
so that guitar player was Mike Baguetta, and we've had this trio for a very long time. I think maybe 2008 was our first. Anyway, and the drummer on there was this great drummer Bill Campbell, and we've done several tours as a trio together, and I think this is my third album with this trio, and that particular album is called Spark. It's on Ad Europa Records. It came out earlier this year. We had done a I think 11 city tour last, not this past summer, but the summer before, and at the end of the tour, we finished in Gainesville, Florida, and we went in the studio and recorded the album. So that was kind of a culmination of um, many days playing in a row.
Hmm,
So
great.
yeah, it's just I'm playing alto saxophone and bass clarinet. Mike is playing guitar, and Bill's playing drums. So that's just the configuration.
And tell me about the sort of compositional process. So that's your composition. Is it something where you come in with the melody and chords, and everybody puts that together? Or do you have a little bit more direction in terms of the sort of the parts, put it that way? Is it something where it's a little bit more of like a group,
hmm
emergence of something? What's your
hmm
process with that, and I suppose other tracks?
Um, I wrote all the music thinking of them, so thinking of their strengths and how they would maybe shape whatever I'm writing for them, groove, um, and um, a challenge for particularly that one is I'm lately I've been kind of working my way back in history and have been listening to a lot of folk blues. Mississippi, so that one's called Mississippi Hurt, named
Hmm.
after Mississippi John Hurt. But not just him, Leadbelly, Howlin' Wolf, Sunhouse. There's so many, really, and it's all jazz came out of there, and you would think I would have like a deep understanding of that, but really, I have only a periphery understanding of it. So discovering this music kind of now in my 40s, like it's exciting to me. So I really love it. and trying to, so that particular tune, I was trying to write, the impetus of that came from trying to write a fingerstyle guitar pattern. But of course,
Sure.
I've started learning guitar because of this, but I I was writing it on the piano, so giving it to Mike to learn, it doesn't really translate that well. So we kind of had to come to uh, we had to figure it out, you know. So he helped
Hmm.
me kind of draft that, what that might sound like on the guitar.
Hmm.
Then structurally, it's kind of like a blues, but it has this I'll call it like a B section or something. So
Hmm.
yeah, and so that's kind of how I put the pieces of that together. And
Cool.
then yeah, we had like a whole bunch of time to practice it and perform it and kind of work out any kinks that we needed to.
Tell me your approach to playing and learning the guitar. You know, was it something where you played it for years but never got serious about it? Now you are, or
No,
you just started to pick it up and
I walked into I told you the
yeah.
piano big wrench, and
Hmm.
they have a bunch of guitars hanging on the wall, and gave me one and said, "Yeah, go ahead and try it." And I like looked at him like I don't know any chords, so I couldn't play anything. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
and so but that was like, you know, I haven't studied it very long, but it's been a year, so I've,
Okay.
you know, just, you know, I'm just a amateur guitar player, but uh, it's helped me write, you know, so
Hmm.
that's the main thing that I've been using it for, is to uh, write for a real guitar player to play.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. Yeah,
yeah,
just last week, I had a guest on, and I brought I've never really done this before, but I brought a cello on, and we tried to play together. It wasn't, it was very extemporaneous. It wasn't set up to do that very well on Zoom, but we did that. But we were talking very much about how um, different instruments can give you different ideas, and it's so fun to explore, and certain things sound better on certain instruments or lay well under your fingers.
yeah.
He was talking about the piano even, right, and its structure and how it lends itself to certain chords and patterns, and you've got the black keys, of course, with the pentatonic scale just sitting right there in front of you, that kind of thing. um, and I don't play I mean, I play the cello, but I've learned just as long as my 8-year-old son has, and I'm not trying. I'm at his level, but
Hey,
I
no
find
need to
it's
brag.
I have it I find it so fun to just play around,
Yeah.
and try things out, see how they sound. And I kind of get the sense, I don't know if this was your feeling. Um, well, first of all, as a saxophone player, you're going to come to that instrument with a different bent, and you might actually, even though you're a newbie, discover things about the instrument
Yeah.
that a guitar player might not even think of. Hey, what
Mm.
if you did this or that? Um, have you? I'm curious. Do you feel like there's anything specific about being a saxophone player and looking at a guitar that uh, that there's a special perspective? Like, oh,
Oh,
I see this pattern here that I play on the saxophone. I see it on the guitar, or oh, I was always playing these arpeggios, and now I can see what it looks like here. I don't know. Do you have any specific sort of embedded ideas as a saxophone player that you see translating in an interesting way to the guitar?
well, one thing that like it kind of blows my mind. You're thinking about fingerstyle guitar and just notating it, and if you're a saxophone player and you saw like what the the large skips and intervals, that
Hmm.
would just be, as a saxophone player, if you saw that, it's like, oh my god, I could never. You can't play that like very fast, or it would just sound
Hmm.
very labored to play, like
Yeah.
play a tenth and then come back down and like skip
Right.
around like that. Even the
Right.
instrument is not really designed to. It doesn't have that great of a range to
Uh-huh.
do that. So to learn that on guitar and see it when I'm writing it down, like, oh my god, it's so easy to do on the guitar.
Right.
It's not that it would be impossible on the saxophone or a woodwind instrument, the clarinet or something, but it would just sound kind of clunky. It wouldn't, it wouldn't sound even like it does on the and I would never think to write that way from the piano just because I know like, oh, that wouldn't sound right on the saxophone.
Hmm.
Because yeah, saxophone's very, you kind of want to go like this with your line rather
Right.
than hopping around. So I don't know, that's been really interesting for me to discover. But yeah, like you said, it's so fun just to learn. I can see because I understand music to learn something brand new, like a different instrument. It's really fun. It's like childlike to I feel like a kid or something, childlike
Mm.
learning or something. Yeah.
What do you play on the guitar? Do you play Smoke on the Water, Nirvana? Like what what have you picked up so far?
I mean, honestly, I have like a few. I've been learning fingerstyle things. So
Okay.
there's like I can get through Freight Train, that Elizabeth Cotten tune.
Okay. Okay.
Um, there's some like there's a Blaze Foley kind of finger style thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. And then I've been learning bar chords and
Hmm.
chords also.
Okay.
But yeah,
Cool. I
nothing
love it.
serious. You know.
I love it. Yeah, no, I do. That's it's funny. It came up last week. It is. It's just. I think as a musician, as a composer, as an improviser, specifically for an improviser, it's also really cool because it's just like since certain things fall under your hands. I immediately thought of John Coltrane. Like Eddie Harris or all these. There was kind of a movement with the saxophone, with you call it like intervallic, theory or whatever,
Yeah,
where you would get saxophone players and they'd be jumping around all these crazy places. And, where do you get the ideas if not, from something like a guitar, so I think it can
yeah,
affect
right,
your playing.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and listen to check out another track here. I've got the two others that you shared, which have a videos accompanying. Any specific one you find interesting next? So we have the Frederick Douglass and we have Abel Farm.
Well, the Frederick Douglass, it's inspired after, and this is from my a previous album before this called After, and they were all the compositions were inspired by works of poetry. So this one's inspired by a Robert Hayden poem called Frederick Douglass,
Hmm.
um, and yeah,
Okay, let's check that out. And I get to see it. So how long ago was this taped? This
um,
video?
well, let's see. So it was probably not this past probably a year ago.
Year or two?
Yeah.
Okay. Get to probably get to see how Mike Baghetta's holding up here after, but I think it's been let's see, we were there in like 2002, right? Like this
Oh
is this
yeah.
is like so this is like 20 some years.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thanks.
I want the video. I want the video to sort of morph the way the music does, though. In the middle there, when the effects, start coming in, I want some like, I want to go
Yeah.
to like a different, add some post-production animations or
Yeah.
something.
Right. It's a good
Cool.
idea.
Yeah. Yeah, easily done. Well, not easily done, but it's modifiable in that way.
Yeah. I'll send it to you. You can.
Oh yeah, I don't have the time. But so well actually, so yeah, of course I had the idea, which is a terrible idea to be honest, is to tell AI to do something with it. But I
Right.
feel like it probably doesn't do it justice. Yeah, but that's the quick and dirty approach. Um, but yeah, I think somebody who's like an animator or something, right, or like a visual effects person, I think they could do something really
Yeah.
fun with it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'll tell you the things that came to mind for myself when I was listening to it. So at the beginning, I felt like some of the actually Miles electric stuff a little bit,
Hmm.
like in a silent way almost, that kind of a vibe, right? But interestingly, a little bit more acoustic, like an acoustic version of that, right? It's
Hmm.
kind of known for
Yeah.
this electric vibe. And then I used to listen to some, indie rock artists. M Ward, are you familiar with M Ward at all?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, he's got some tracks that have a similar vibe. More without the. There is a little bit, I think, of some of the effects that are going on, but um, yeah, like I think it's called Chinese translation or something specifically is one that I thought of.
Hmm.
Uh, which interestingly almost has like a poetry type of feeling to it.
Hmm.
It's got like a little bit of a story that goes on with it.
I'll
Um,
check him out. Yeah, it looks
and
interesting.
yeah, I feel like there was one more thing, but yeah, so clearly you weren't thinking of that. Um, and then it was interesting to see the kind of use of the pedals and the effects. I didn't even notice, and maybe it wasn't on camera. I didn't notice that you had an effects board there until you started using it. Of course, I saw Mike's, but yeah. Do you feel
Yeah.
like you have influences or inspirations with a track like that, or you're just kind of you don't know? It's just coming from you, and of course things are influencing it.
It's funny that in the silent way, that's a melody I will warm up with, like with a drone.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I love that melody.
It is
Like
great. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know that I consciously. So I don't know that that was a conscious thing, but it was.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's definitely yeah, like just that melody is beautiful. Um, uh, the effects thing. Um, it's been interesting to me. I know there's like a it's like a it's so in the moment to for a saxophone player to be using effects pedals,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, and I'm interested in it, and I'm exploring it. However, what I am very careful, at least that something I try to avoid is to let it interfere with the natural sound. Um,
Hmm.
so, like, it's really hard to get a pleasant sound on a saxophone from my
Hmm.
experience. And
Hmm.
then, so when you put a fuzz distortion or something on it, um, I feel like it kind of it doesn't matter what kind of sound you have.
Hmm.
Um, so for me, the I still want to retain like the integrity of whatever good for good or bad my sound. I worked hard for it, and
Hmm.
yeah, I'm not like so crazy about putting effects, but like the layering of like I have that freeze pedal that I
Yeah, yeah,
really
that's what I
like.
was. Yeah, maybe I
Yeah,
heard it up front. I couldn't quite tell. So you played like a lower tone and let it play while you were playing.
yeah,
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 I was like, where's that come from?
yeah, yeah.
So that's what it was. Okay.
I mean that yeah that's kind of what I'm going for. I would like the listener to say like, wait, what's it, how's that? What is that?
Right, right.
Um, where not to knock anybody that's not you or is using it in different ways. I'm just trying not to. I'm very conscious not to do that.
Oh, so I remember the other thing that I thought of, and actually interestingly, it came up in the last session again. This guy was he, he did he did a recording studio, and he was very interested in like kind of folk musics from around the world. And he brought in he had a certain passion for the Ethiopic type of thing. So I heard
Yeah.
that I heard a little bit in
Oh,
the
that's cool.
scaling of the melody as well. There was sort of some interesting. I
Huh.
I, I, I didn't listen intellectually enough to pick out, what specific scale you were using or tones, but it had that kind of a feel to it of some of those sort of
Oh, cool.
African things I've heard.
Oh,
But yeah, very nice.
yeah. Thanks.
Um, and how much? Oh, I was curious too with your explorations of guitar. How much of that is kind of not like fed by someone like Mike in your life or somebody else that's a guitar player? Are they like, oh, hey, you should check this and this out, or are you like kind of finding it on your own? Or, are you interacting with guitar players over your love of guitar a lot or a little, or, how does that unfold?
Um, yeah. Like, well, I've always loved the guitar. I mean, I think it's just growing up in a rock in when I did in the 70s and 80s and the 90s. It's pop music is the guitar, um, and I've always loved that. So yeah, like I guess I've had bands with piano players, but I've had more bands with guitar players. I have another different band that we've recorded this past May, and I've got a new album out in November, and it has two guitar players in it. So I've like, I'm doubling the
Double down.
guitar thing here. Yeah. So yeah, I'm in contact with a lot of guitar players, and um, yeah, it's interesting
Okay.
to me.
And you, I guess part of my question was like, are you talking with them much about your specific interests? Like, you were talking about different artists, from like a old blues kind of artists and stuff like that. Do you find yourself consulting with them, or is it more of like an independent, research project when you're looking at this stuff?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I guess I really can't speak to anybody else's experience, but if it's similar to mine, a lot of contemporary jazz musicians, maybe they're aware of Lead Belly and just this whole history of blues, Robert Johnson. I mean,
Hmm.
I imagine we're all kind of exposed to it on a periphery
Yeah.
level in some sort of you know jazz history class. It's like the first week, and then
Hmm.
you move on.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I don't really have a lot of discussions about it other than like, hey, I really like this, and maybe
Right.
they have um, some some others that they've discovered. But no, it's fun. I think I mean probably like you, it's fun to share music that you discovered, whether that's
Right.
old or contemporary. Like I'm going to check out this M Ward
Oh yeah.
person. Yeah, like yeah, anybody if they like something, it's worth checking out, right? Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Cool. Um, well, we've got about, I don't know, 5 minutes left here. We could sample a little bit more of the music, or we could start to wrap it up. Maybe we'll just have a little taste of this Able Farm you
Oh, okay,
shared. What
sure.
is it? Just makes sense to start at the beginning, do a couple minutes, or is the middle better, or anything
Yeah, maybe
specific?
just play the melody or something. So this is a live recording of a song that's going to be out. Actually, the I have two singles coming out of the new album. One is October 7th and one is October 21st.
Okay.
October 21st, this tune is coming out. It's called Able Farm,
Okay.
and it's on the new album.
Okay. So just from the beginning and through the melody, at least.
Sure, yeah.
we got a chance to listen to that.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's I feel like thematically the style, at least of the things that we've heard today, it's kind of got this sort of a little bit of an unassuming quality, that takes you places that you didn't think you were
Hmm.
going to go. I like that.
Oh, cool. Thanks.
Um, all right. Well, yeah. Typically, before we wrap up, I usually like to give the guests a moment to, share some final thoughts, words of wisdom, places to go, things to do. So there's your moment, and then I'll walk us out.
Well, I guess if you are interested in my music, we have a upcoming. The next performance is August 30th at a place in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, called Fiction, and I think we start at 8, maybe 9. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks for sharing that. Get our Yeah, so walk us out here. We have reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. And thanks, of course, to Aaron and Irwin for joining us today, as well as our audience that has participated as we typically have each week. We appreciate you showing up. Um, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, the cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. If you joined us today for signing up for this session independently, you could make your life more convenient. You could subscribe to PTRH. It's just $16 a month. You get the recording of today's session in our member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. Sign up at bit.ly/joinptrh, bit.ly/joinptrh. Don't forget about the podcast, the Substack, the socials, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and sign up for our email list with just your name and email at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. And with that, we'll wrap it up for the day. Aaron, you can jump back on the Zoom link. We'll do a quick wrap up, just you and me. But for everyone else,